Ivan Demidov is absolutely ridiculous. Some more highlights coming out of his game versus Arber today has just left us in absolute shock. The 6 shootout move, but not to mention some of the craziest hands I think I've ever seen on any Habs player in history. Even though he didn't play or score on these goals, on these plays here, you can just see those hands are absolutely magical, setting up teammates left and right. I just cannot believe what I am witnessing here. Every single thing he does is impressive to the nth degree. We got to get into these highlights, and we're going to be watching him again later. Make sure you stick around for that. Plus, we got to talk a bit about Patrik Laine, and a new report from Renaud Lavoie says that Laine actually declined a trade before going to Montreal. And we got a little note from The Athletic about Martin St. Louis and how some people at The Athletic think that he could be a dark horse for the Jack Adams. We're going to get into all that on this live episode of Habs Digest. Welcome in everyone to the stream. Thank you all for being here. We got 160 people starting strong. Not to mention, we're starting out with a super chat right away from Mr. Niall saying, "Away, yes! Absolutely, $5. Thank you so much. Thank you. Hello. Ahoy to everyone in the chat. Jesse, we got so many people in here. We got Rafi, we got Jay, we got Frank, we got Planko, we got Super Gujon from Melbourne, Australia, Rak, Chazak. We got so many more. Jesse, how excited are you? We're going to talk about Demidov later, but I know that's what we all want to hear about right now. Like, after watching those clips, I feel like every time I watch him, it elevates my opinion of him.
For sure. I know it's been a rough stretch for the Habs fans a little bit. So it's like when we get a player like this, we're almost like, oh no, it's too good to be true. Like we're going to see him not kind of turning up the way that we kind of expect him to do, right? But just day after day when we're seeing just these highlight level moves from him, right? It's just reading like he is the real deal. We have him. It's a dream come true.
Yeah, it absolutely is. As we get another super chat rolling in from Jay Falado. Jay, I'll read, well, your last message just said, "Hi, everyone. If you want to send a message, I'll answer your message." But thank you so much. Long-time channel member Jay as well. We got a lot of long-time members in here, including Planko there. Hello from Gaspé Z. Hello, I saw someone there from YYT, my hometown of St. John's as well. We got so many people in here. Hot take, Demi will have the most points of a Russian at the end of his career. I'm loving the hot takes, Jesse. There are so many, including from some of our current channel members. Speaking of that, though, before we get into the video, I just wanted to shout something out because away from a live stream, it wasn't associated with any video or live stream that I saw, but I'm going to play the super chat animation because we have a third Rocket Richard member on the channel. And, they just joined, and it wasn't during a live stream. So I believe it's Piron Law Druid. If you're in the stream, please let me know. Mr. and Mrs. Law Druid, please let us know. Because if you're a Rocket Richard tier member, you get to come in video calls with us, with our boy Alex, with our boy Doug. We did do that at least once a month, video chats, discuss video ideas, things like that. We have, a Facebook group chat where you can talk directly with us. So if you're in here, please let us know. Thank you so much for becoming a Rocket Richard tier member. I just wanted to get that out there. Before we get into it though, Jesse, there is a question here from Super Gujon saying, just curious, do either of you still play hockey? Spoiler, I never played hockey. I can skate at like a basic level, but that's about it. What about you, Jesse? You don't skate too much anymore?
Yeah, well, I'm not playing hockey as much like in a league or anything these days for sure. I was a goalie back in the day when I would play. My main sport as kind of was football in college and also rugby in college as well. So those were kind of my big sports kind of later on, but obviously we've always kept the love of the game.
Yeah, I've always loved watching hockey, but I played basketball. I did some martial arts growing up. I did some other things. Played lacrosse for a year. That was kind of cool, but never, ever ice hockey, even though my dad was a pretty good player. So anyway, with all that said though, Jesse, let's get into the stream. We got 200 people in here. We got to give the fans what they want to see, and that's some Habs news. And I wanted to first talk about something that came out a few days ago on The Athletic. And in The Athletic, they were kind of talking about dark horses for every single award. And I was looking for Habs left and right on that list, Jesse. I can't lie to you. Suzuki didn't show up in the Selke. Hudson was he wasn't really talked about in the Calder because I don't think he's even really a dark horse, so I guess that's a good thing. But someone that did come up is Martin St. Louis, and only one person on this panel, Gentil. I don't know the first name, or Gentil, I don't know the first name. My apologies, I probably should have checked that. But anyway, they talk about, like, someone said Mike Sullivan might win it. He said, no. He said, I made peace with that a few years ago. Give me Marty St. Louis here at 35-1. He checks a lot of boxes. He's a name brand guy in the Canadian market. Nobody thinks Montreal is going to be good. He's pretty clearly a talented coach based on how the Canadiens' key young players have developed. He's got a decent goaltender in Sam Montembeault. If Montreal hangs around on the periphery of the playoff chase, his name will be in the mix. I think this is a fantastic take. He is absolutely my sleeper pick too. Like, yes, there's a bit of bias because we cover the team and we understand what's going on better than most, I would say. But when you're looking at this, Jesse, this is a team that's primed to, whether it's this season or maybe next, eventually just jump up from bottom of the standings up crazy. And they brought in Laine. They're hopefully going to have healthy seasons. They're hopefully going to have progression from some guys, some solid goaltending. To me, this is by far the best choice for any dark horse coach of the year this year.
Yeah, definitely. I would have to agree. Of course, it's our boy. And we see that these long shots have happened before in the past. Like even last year's previous winner, Rick Tocchet, he was a 25-1 underdog to win this. So we see that this can definitely happen. And I think it's really kind of hangs on whether Montreal's able to kind of hang around that playoff picture. You have to feel if they're able to kind of get in, kind of fits like that dark horse sort of recipe that we often see the Jack Adams Awards winners get. So we already know what an amazing coach is. But the thing is, now the rest of the league, now the other teams, the general managers are starting to know as well. So, we could definitely see some results like that in the near future.
Yeah, and I want to know your guys' opinion in the comment section. Like, do you think it's actually likely for Martin St. Louis to win the Jack Adams this year? Leave me a Y for yes, N for no. I want to see those letters flying in the chat there because honestly, like they say in this article, Jesse, the Coach of the Year award rarely goes to the best actual coach in the NHL. And Marty is still young. He is, he's definitely one of the best coaches. But, you see a guy like Sullivan who's just somehow never won it despite sustained success. So, I just think that, Montreal makes that jump. I think if they're even on the fringe of the playoffs, people are going to look at them and say, like, oh my gosh, this is crazy, right? Whether he deserves it or not. Not to mention, Jesse, like, even his X's and O's, which was maybe when he first joined, people were not so sure about it. They've been steadily improving too. And realistically, maybe this is a hot take, but a jump in power play production this year, I think will make a world of difference, not only for this award, but for the Habs in the standings.
It will for sure. And the big thing about, like Laine coming to Montreal recently was that having Martin St. Louis as the head coach. I think that definitely is a big factor, but I think it's that two-head approach of general manager Kent Hughes along with Martin St. Louis. It's the fact that the coaching is so good along with that overall vision, which just kind of creates that solid kind of foundation for this team that we really need. So for sure, Marty, I know is getting a lot of praise. Kent as well, I think is definitely a part of this equation as well, of really bringing solid players to the organization.
Yeah, it's been so cool to witness this whole growth of the Habs right there. As I'm taking a look into the chat, it's, I think most people say, no, there's no shot Marty gets it. Blanco says no, just because of bias. Yeah, I mean, realistically, if I'm being a realist, the odds of him winning are very low because you have so many good teams, right? You got, I could go name, half the teams in the league. Yeah, Montreal would have to have, I think, a solid playoff caliber standings for the Montreal to even be in contention for this award. But regardless, I think it was a really interesting thing. As I'm going to go back to the chat here, try and read some of the channel members' chats. Thanks to Denis Rongier and thanks to so many other people who decided to also become channel members, and Denis, of course, gifting them so much. It's become even hard to keep up with just channel member messages, and that's such a good thing. But I wanted to take a look here. We got 35 days remaining. That's right, with the Suzuki emoji. That's right, Blanco. Rafi saying best Habs reporting for sure. Thank you. Frank says hit the like button. Well, Frank, I couldn't have said it better myself. Guys, if you hit the like button, you see the number go up. I say it every stream because it's so simple, right? People like these cookie clicker games. If you click the like button, it helps us, and it's fun for you. So, there's no loss there. It takes nothing. It's free. Just like subscribing is free, completely free to the channel, and then you can chat and hear with everyone else. Thank you so much. Taking a look down here, Marty St. Louis will be known as the first of the new NHL era coach, and we got Rack saying Denis is the man for sure. That's actually an interesting thing, Jesse. Do you think Marty St. Louis represents, or could represent, I don't know if I want to say revolution, because again, we're at a very small sample size. We haven't seen Montreal have that, playoff level success under Marty yet. But I can see a world where his style of coaching, right, his mind for the game. Ex-players have been coaches plenty of times. I mean, we see Rob Brind'Amour is one of the best coaches in the league right now. But Marty sees the game differently, and the way he seems to treat his locker room is very different from, I think, a lot of other teams, which is making him an attraction. Do you see that becoming maybe more common as teams see Montreal? If Montreal continues the development path that they certainly seem to be on, do you see other teams maybe trying to look for those qualities in coaches more as the years go on?
Yeah, we're seeing a big shift from kind of the old boys club to now having kind of coaches that are more kind of player friendly and everything else. But Martin St. Louis, while he's really positive and is able to have great relations with his players, it's more than just that. It's also his ability just to be able to read the game at another level, something that allowed him to excel as a smaller player, undrafted. You have to think the game at the next level if you don't have all these physical tools that all these other players had. So he's been able to build this up over his career, all this knowledge of how to win at the game of hockey. And now he's sharing it with the Montreal Canadiens. And it's almost a question he has more to give than they're almost willing to take in right now, what they really have the capacity to take in, because it's a young team and he's kind of given them bit by bit over time for them to grow. But Martin St. Louis still has a lot of strategies, a lot of tactics that he has up his sleeve that he's waiting for this young team to kind of show that they're ready and then kind of bring on these new concepts to really allow this team to grow even more.
It's so different. It does feel revolutionary in a lot of ways, and I'm super excited to see how this develops into the future. So you don't think, well, it says Flower, maybe that's Fowler. We'll play a game at the end of the year, because I think Marc-Andre Fleury is probably going to play for Minnesota. I would assume so. And then Doug, welcome in, Doug. Good to see you here. Kent Hughes is the best GM since Serge Savard. Now, I don't know a whole lot about Serge Savard's tenure. That's a bit before my time, I suppose, before I really started watching hockey, but he feels like the best in my lifetime so far. All these moves seem to be amazing. Derek Rendell, welcome back, Derek. Also another longtime supporter. Appears that Marty will be taking over the power play. If they could somehow become a top 12 power play and top 18 in the league, we will have votes for sure, but not a realistic thing. I think so too. I saw a comment there also talking about the amount of one-goal games, something we've talked about at length on this show, and I think, just changing that power play, bringing in a guy like Laine, and having a fully healthy season of Kirby, Dach, and even Newhook for a full season, so many of those games are going to change, and so many of these guys are so bought in. I'm super excited. But I think, Jesse, on that note, why don't we just get over to Laine right now? Because this Patrick Laine stuff has had a lot of people talking today, and I want to get your guys' opinions about this in the chat. And I want to get your guys' opinions on which team was trying to trade for him, because according to Renaud Lavoie, Laine refused another trade offer before the Canadiens acquired him. Now, Montreal was not on his no-trade list, so he didn't have to waive his no-movement clause to go to Montreal. That was just not a team that he was like, hey, if you trade me there, that's perfectly fine. Not on my list. But I'm going to bring up the quote here from Renaud Lavoie. I think I have it up here. Maybe I'll have to pop it up. There it is. He said, yes, there were other teams interested. Laine asked for a trade, as most people know, and Laine apparently refused an offer from another team before the Canadiens one came in. He went on to say that Montreal's a place he wanted to play. Of course. Now, I see a lot of people online speculating on certain teams. I see in the chat right now, we got Planto saying it could be Nashville. I think Nashville's an interesting take. I don't know where that money's going to come from with all the people that they've signed recently. One team I've heard a lot is Buffalo, and I feel like that kind of makes sense. Buffalo and Minnesota were two teams that were rumored to be in there. Some people were speculating Laine from McGroarty might have been on the table, and he was like, no, I'm not going back to Winnipeg. But I think Buffalo might make some sense, but I don't know if that's just speculation, but it's fun to look at this. And regardless, Jesse, though, Montreal had some competition. It certainly seems like with the Columbus Blue Jackets. Montreal was not their first choice, so maybe they had a better offer, and maybe Kent Hughes played this even more strategically than we thought, coming in under another team that maybe he didn't know they had that offer, maybe he knew, and he was like, hey, they offered that, let me offer you this, I just think that as more details come out about this, the more happy I am about exactly what went down.
Yeah, definitely would have had to be another team with a lot of cap space. But for me, this is really encouraging, this article, because we know how good Patrick Laine is, right? And I want to get a heat check in the comment section. Are we still feeling this trade? I want to really get the percentage there of, how we're still feeling kind of a week in from this trade. It's we know how talented he is. So if this guy's motivated to play hockey, if he chose to come to Montreal, again, wanting to play with Martin St. Louis, wanting to be a part of this young core, I think it just highlights so many exciting things for this team, and even how he fits, right? Because I know fans of the show will know that, I've been talking about, having a vet in our top six, how beneficial that would be. But we see Patrick Laine, he kind of fits that best of both worlds of, having a little bit of experience as a vet, but while still being young enough to kind of grow with this young core. So it's just such a nice combination. So again, we just all got the sense from the interview that he was so happy to be coming to Montreal. And now we're seeing that even though there was competition, he was choosing us on top of it. For me, is just really, really encouraging about this next season that he's going to have.
Yeah, and especially all the comments that he had about the Habs management and about the Habs coaching and about the players and the welcome he got from the players. It doesn't just seem obviously at the end of the day, Montreal made the offer, Columbus accepted, Montreal was not on the list, so Laine got traded. He didn't have any say onto, he didn't get to pick which team he went to. He just got to pick a list of 10 teams that he didn't want to go to. But the fact of the matter is, it certainly seems like maybe it's just some PR stuff, but it certainly seemed like he wanted to go to Montreal on top of all this. Like you said, as we get another super chat in the chat, Jesse, not necessarily related to Laine. However, it does say, rest in peace, Newfoundland Growlers. Give that super chat a like. I had season tickets one year to go to the Growlers. Of course, I don't live in St. John's anymore, but that was so fun to watch them. Rest in peace, Growlers. Cannot believe the fiasco that was. They were playing in a 2,000 capacity arena for a bit. Not going to get into that right here. That was nuts. But yeah, looking at this, it's just absolutely unbelievable. Like, I don't know. Like, I was also following, of course, Minnesota's talks about it, and I just didn't think it made sense for them. My personal opinion is Buffalo. So far, I think I just see Nashville. I see Utah. I see the Kraken in the chat. Ooh, you know what? I don't know about how the cap would work necessarily for the Kraken or the, I almost said the Jazz or the Utah hockey team. Those kind of make some sense. Can you imagine him on Utah? I feel like that could be really interesting. Although it's another it's a low pressure market, which is something that maybe Laine was trying to avoid. Maybe he wanted to go to a high pressure market like Montreal, but I could definitely see one of those two teams, Seattle or Utah, taking a swing for him.
Yeah, for sure. We know that Utah, the general manager, said that they want to make a splash and really bring in some players to be competitive. I wonder, Calgary, I know they're in the rebuild for sure. They definitely have a lot of cap space as well there. But, like, I am so happy that we're bringing in this player again. Just the more that we're hearing, like, I think that he's going to have a solid year in Montreal. Like, I know it sounds crazy after coming in injury-filled year, but, like, I think 35 goals is a solid baseline. We're just looking at the highlights from this guy playing with better players, just feeling reinvigorized, being in a better kind of mental space than ever. There's just so many factors that are leading up for Laine to have a beast of a season. And it's not going that contribution of what he's going to have, I think could have some huge effects on this team this year.
Yeah, man, 35, I think it's like, if he has a full healthy season, I don't see any reason he doesn't get there. We take a look in the chat. Hi, all, 19 days to the prospect game. Oh, it sounds so close, Mark, doesn't it? It's so close. That's so crazy to think that, like, 19 days not that far away. There's just a couple streams away, guys. That's how we measure time now, right? Every Habs Digest stream. Doug saying, I said since Savard, I didn't say he was the best GM ever. Well, yeah, I mean, I would also agree with you. I think someone else said Sam Pollock, but I think what Pollock was before Savard, I don't know that I timeline of GMs very well. So sorry if I got that wrong, but I think that's right. We got Polanco saying Laine somehow fits in. I was listening to a podcast with Ferravari, and guys were a bit nervous from Dubois. Yeah, for sure. I'm so glad that we didn't go after Dubois after. Take a look at some more here. Imagine Patty loves it here. We end up with a 40-50 goal score, second overall pick for free. Well, $9 million, I don't know if I'd count it as free, but again, bringing it in for, you don't really have to give up much to get the player. Yeah, that's pretty unreal. I think New Jersey were interested, but only had half the required space. That's the thing. Like, I don't even know if Columbus would have accepted that if they had to retain half. If he scores 25, it'd still be great. I'm predicting 45 for Laine. If Laine scores better, yep. I mean, like, that's the thing. If you take a look at him, 25, would you consider it a disappointment if he got 25, Jesse? I feel like I'd be content with 25. I feel like I would say it's great if he gets 30 plus, and I would say phenomenal if he touches 35. That's kind of my scale. What are you feeling on that?
Patrick Laine would be disappointed. We know for him, it's kind of 30 goals plus. And you have to feel like under the right circumstances, like, of course, this guy is just going to absolutely light it up. But again, it's about playing like that complete game. And that's what we're going to have his game under a microscope this year, is like paying attention, doing those defensive details, kind of having Caufield kind of as a model to kind of try and find more of an all-around game. We've already seen it work with a young sniper. Now we're just going to see if it works with the bigger Finnish sniper in Laine here. So I think if he's able to get around that mark, though, and really contribute to this team, because like even when he was getting like those 40 plus goals, he was still getting just like about 70 points, which goes to very much show that he's more of a goal scorer than anything else. But if he's able to get 25 while maybe increase his playmaking, which we know he has, which he'll be working with players where maybe he will get a little bit more assists, I think that would be a fair projection for next year than we kind of normally see from him. I can see that definitely being a win just while improving his game. But first and foremost, this guy is here to score goals. And I think it's okay that Montreal brought in a guy that maybe is going to focus on that, because you can't have all players that are all the same. Like, while Nick Suzuki's great and I love him, as 30 plus goals, it's like we can't have them all be two-way centers. You need sometimes the two-way centers with maybe a little bit more of an offensive focus guy in Laine, et cetera, right? So it's all about the makeup and not having too many of these same ones. But I think he fits a very specific need for this team. So he's going to be disappointed. He's going to want to get 30 plus this season here.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think he said he wanted so many more than that. I can't lie, Jesse. Like, it's absolutely surreal. Like, the hockey guy posted his season preview. I'm closing my eyes. You know why? Because I'm visualizing Laine on the power play. Because I watched that 2024-25 hype video. I'm watching these edits of Demidov passing to Laine, and I'm getting like giddy thinking about this. Like, it's not to mention the Demidov highlights that we're going to get into shortly. Like, every single thing about Laine is it's just crazy. I feel like I've been speechless more than ever on this channel. Usually I'm pretty good at just saying things. Even if I go a long time realistically saying nothing just to, just to speak for the sake of speaking. That's something I've become pretty good at doing this show. But at the same time, it's not often I just become speechless. And when I look at these highlights and when I think about the Habs this season, it's pretty crazy. So, gonna have a look through the chat here. We got Alex saying answer is less than 20 and no other one. I think that's pretty fair. I think less than 20. I think that's fair to call a disappointment. Still, like, I don't think that would mean the trade is bad. I think it would be a disappointment in terms of Laine's skill set. Someone told me to look up Pollock. I really should. I do know a decent bit about Habs history, of course, but when it comes to like management and coaching and GMs, I really don't, and I feel like I should a bit more. Yeah, Alex, it's your take. Honestly, I'd kind of agree. As I take a look at the poll, you guys can probably see some of this, or you probably saw me making the poll now that I think about it. So it's actually interesting, Jesse. So we got 8% say less than 15 would be a disappointment, and anything above, I guess, is okay. Less than 20 has 41% of the vote. Less than 25 is 32% of the vote, and less than 30 has 20% of the vote. Everyone in the chat, please go vote on that, because I'm curious to see everyone's opinion, and we'll come back to that a bit later. But yeah, we sticking solid with less than 20. I think if he gets 20 or more, I think I'm right past. I'm just enough to say it's not a disappointment. I just say, like, maybe I wish he could have done better, but I'm not disappointed. We saying 20, or you may be saying 25?
I'm saying 25. I'm expecting a lot from Laine to come in, but the whole thing is he's always showing if he's in the lineup and he's playing, he's an effective player. That's the beautiful part. That's why he was worth taking this 2-year, very calculated gamble on. Like, for me, it's all about just keeping him good, keeping him in a good space mentally, having fun in the ring, just doing all these things to really help his game, right? Because if he's going to be in the lineup, he's going to be having a solid effect every single game.
Absolutely. Yeah, I see Alex saying, I meant the private take I made earlier. It make that sound so suspicious. But if you want me to bring that take out in the chat, I can. Or maybe we can send or save that for like a season preview or something, Alex, because that was a bold take. That was a very bold take you sent in that chat today. Of course, guys, as you know, Alex and Doug, who are in the chat here, both Rocket Richard tier members, so we have a nice chat with them on the side, some video chats occasionally. And just another reminder that, what's the name? Piran Law Druid, Rocket Richard tier member. If you're in the chat, please let us know. Please reach out somewhere, because you joined the Rocket Richard tier and I don't know how to contact you. So please reach out to join this group chat, join all this stuff. So we get another super chat. Mr. Niles is going crazy today, Jesse, with the super chats. Laine is going to be unreal. He wants this market. Laine on the point with Matheson, Cole, and Slav, and the dots, and Susie working the bumper. I don't even know, because I feel like Laine and Caufield both need to be in that same spot on their off wing, on their one-time side. And I can't decide. Like, part of me wants to say just put him on power play 1, power play 2, and just like kind of stack both. I feel like Laine on the point, like, it could work, but I feel like he's so much more lethal in that other spot. Before we move on, what do you think, Jesse?
Yeah, I need to, when you watch a lot of his highlights of his goals, he is just absolutely like lethal, deadly from that spot, similar to Cole Caufield on the power play. So it almost feels like they would need to be on separate units, just because they serve that same function kind of as the sniper on that. But I mean, we're gonna be able to get a little creative here.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of experimentation. With Burrows gone, I mean, I know Marty was kind of like the head of the power play anyway, the final decision maker, but very interesting. Alex, I think I'm going to save your incredibly hot take for another video, because I think we want to get into the Demidov stuff, but I think your hot take, well, your Mayu take, first of all, that I still have here, don't worry, and your hot take today, I think we save those for a season preview video, and we get some of the chat's opinions, because I kind of love your take, and like, I just love how bold it is, and I think it's going to be fun to discuss with some other people. But it's time to get into the big stuff, Jesse, and I'm just going to play the highlight reel for everyone once again. Just sit back, relax, credit to Hockey News Hub on Twitter. The links to all of these clips can be found in the description. Every single clip I use, there's actually more. I'm going to show you just a little highlight package, but there's more than what I'm about to show you. All in the links down below. Give them the credit. Give them a follow on Twitter. They even tweeted out that they're basically Demidov Hub now. So please, I want to redirect as much traffic to their Twitter page as possible, because they make these highlights available. Let's get into this. Let's just start off with a shootout goal. I mean, like, I just, again, just sort of speechless when I'm watching this guy. These hands, Jesse, it's something like I've never seen from any. Then what is that? Like, I watch this guy I watch Kaprizov all the time. This guy, to me, is just a spitting image of Kaprizov. When he says he plays like a mix of Kaprizov and Jack Hughes, I see it every single time. Because I've watched plenty of Kaprizov. He reminds me of him so much. Not just on these plays. Oh, look at that. Like that little drop pass. Imagine these are Habs players getting these. But not just these plays, Jesse. Also this one here. Now, this is his assist from 2 days ago. This is from Saturday. But it's this goal here in the 3v3 part where he uses his edges and turns at such a quick speed. Look at this with the edge work. That, to me, I just see Kaprizov when I look at this, and I think his comparison is bang on. These hands, this edge work, like, the more we watch this guy, and reminder, some people think this is a full under-23 tournament he's in now. It's not. His team is under-23. He is the captain at 18 years old. He's doing this against full-out KHL preseason teams. Any comments on this, Jesse? I'm sure there's a lot, but, like, every single day, it feels like every single time we've watched a game, I know he's still recovering from his injury, but it feels like every single game, he does something more and more and more impressive. Despite not getting a goal in regulation today, like, I don't think it even matters.
Yeah, this guy's got more moves than Michael Jordan. Like his lines of attack that he's taken, like his angles, and how he's kind of able to incorporate those toe drags into these type of moves. Like it's
One more time.
not something that we necessarily see all the time, right? Again, his head fake. He scored on a goal recently like this going on the backhand. So he's showing that he can go either way with that head fake. He's just getting the goalie to completely bite the other way. See that toe drag on that angle like that? Like, look at that extension, taking it right to the net from there. Like, this guy is just making unreal moves all over the ice. He's basically keeping up his 2 points per game pace right now. So, I mean, it's just absolutely unreal. Like, again, as I was saying earlier, like we think that he's going to let up or that, he'll just come and have sort of some type of regular game, right? Where he's not flashing all over the ice. But it's like, this is what we need to expect from Ivan Demidov, like every single time. Get ready, Habs Digest fans, like subscribe to the channel, check it out, because this is what this guy is going to be doing every single game in the KHL until he makes his way to Montreal. And then it's just going to get even better. Like, this is what this guy is doing. He has all the pressure put on him to really center this first line, and he's just absolutely killing it so far.
It's unreal what he's doing. And don't forget, we talked about in the video yesterday. Actually, I can probably bring up the quotes now that I think about it. His coach, Roman Rottenberg, some of the stuff he said the role he's playing now in this preseason is the same as he will have in SKA. We're watching Vanya, and we're really happy that he plays like that. Thanks to Demidov, we have very serious competition, which is the engine of progress. This is, again, translated from Russian. Maybe it's like an idiom or something. But anyway, he can earn a spot on any line, which is absolutely true. They talked about how the Habs and SKA can make him one of the best players in the world. No point in him going to the NHL unless he's ready to play first line. Finally, basically just said, there's no point in going over to the fourth line of Montreal. We want to turn him into a first line guy. And honestly, I completely agree. Like, when you watch, speaking of another super chat, Demidov is the next Datsuk. Watch out. What if he's better than Datsuk? I don't know. That's a really bold take. But you never know. Like, the ceiling for this guy, Jesse, like we said yesterday, and maybe I'll just end up repeating some of the stuff we said yesterday, but I don't mind that because I think it's very relevant here. And, one thing that you mentioned was he's a student of the game. And when you look at this guy, the combination of everyone on Montreal, whether it's Slav, whether it's Reinbacher, whether it's even Suzuki, whether it's Demidov, whether it's Fowler, these guys have a lethal combination of willpower and drive and that fire inside them to get better, to be competitive, to be better than everyone else, while not being full of themselves, having confidence in themselves, but also being extremely open and willing to learn. One of the first comments Demidov said when he got drafted is, hey, I can't wait to see what the Habs, want to plan for me for my development. And when I'm watching these clips, Jesse, as an 18-year-old dominating grown man in the KHL, like, to me, like, if there was any worry now, like any worry from that MHL stuff, I'm seeing like hockey fans from all over different fan bases watching him now, and they're like, oh yeah, oh no, that wasn't just him dominating a bad league. This guy's legit.
And we're watching these highlights. It's not like him just finishing off like broken plays or anything else. Like, I encourage you all to check out these highlight packages from him, and even from these recent games, right? Like, if you're watching it, you're noticing that he's the play driver. He's the one that's starting the play, and a lot of the times finishing them off as well. Just involved basically all the way through, not afraid to take control of the game, get the puck, take it to the slot, let it rip. As we saw in that assist, it was an assist, but it was basically all him taking in the net, letting it rip. Guy scores it, right in front of the net from there. So again, the guy is just completely dominating the game all the way through, right? Going, not afraid to just take it right to the net every single time, just again. And if the shot isn't there, then he's going to set up the play for a tic-tac-toe example like we're seeing as well. So, I mean, it just, the highlight reel just continues from Demidov here.
So, on that note, I'm going to roll out a question to the chat, another poll. And I'm going to hide it this time. I'm going to hide it this time so you don't get to preview it while I'm making it. And, oh no, I can't start the other one until the old one ends. Jesse, it actually came in close for Laine, as I take a look in the chat here. 37% said less than 20 is a disappointment. 35% said less than 25. So it seems like, if he gets about 25, we're probably okay. But 16% of people still said if he gets less than 30, it's a disappointment. Only 10% of people said less than 15 makes sense. But I'm about to make the poll. Thank you all 179 people who did that. By the way, again, we got almost 400 people in here. If you guys could just hit that like button for us. But also, if you're not subscribed, it's completely free. You can just hit the subscribe button, no fees, anything. Hit that button. You can chat in here with us. You can talk to us. You can watch every single Habs Digest video every single day. Lots of Demidov content, lots of highlights from him, from Reinbacher, from every prospect, and a lot more when the season comes along. But let's take a look in here. And what was I going to say? That's what I say when I don't remember what I was going to say. It's a transition sentence. It works sometimes. So I'm going to create a poll. It's what I was going to say. Okay, I'm not going to say it as I type it. Okay, I think this is a bit of a controversial take, Jesse. So I'm gonna wait a second. Once it's hard to talk while I'm writing the question. But all right, this is the simple question. It's a simple yes or no. I'm officially starting the poll, and here we go, Jesse. I'm asking the audience this. I'm gonna ask it to you too. When Demidov comes over, and I'm assuming that's next year, will he be immediately on the first line from game one? What do you think?
No, he doesn't need to be, because the Habs have such balance and skill now within their top six that it's almost the first line is going to be so interchangeable. There's going to be so many different combinations. What matters is that he's going to be playing with solid players. That's what really matters the most. Like whether, because if that kind of, Suzuki, Caufield, Slafkovsky line is really fine, I don't think there's necessarily a reason to take that apart. But definitely as the season goes on, you're going to want to experiment. You're definitely going to want to see Demidov with Slav, with Suzuki, with everybody. You're going to want to have that opportunity, both in practice, but in game situations, to really kind of figure that out. I think that right away, for sure, in the top six, he's going to be there. He's going to be playing with Dach, playing with Newhook probably right away. But obviously, there is going to be that's the next step. That's the missing link, right? So I think that's what's important, is just kind of getting his feet wet, and he's going to be put in a position to succeed right away. But from there, it's definitely, we're going to have to try out some combinations. Like I think him and Slav, not just on the PP, would absolutely be phenomenal together. Now, whether you call that kind of a second line with Dach, Demidov, Slafkovsky, whether we kind of keep the first line, whether it's kind of a Suzuki, Slav, Demidov sort of first line, those are all fair arguments, right? I think we're definitely going to see some different combinations before Demidov kind of finds his home. But you have to feel over the period of time, not the first game, but my take is definitely Demidov is going to finish his career, and it's not going to take him very long to really get to that first line.
Yeah, so maybe I should rephrase the question, because that was pretty much exactly my take there too. It's like, I just don't see a world that doesn't happen. Like, unless you are legitimately a generational talent, you don't start on the first line. Like, Bedard starts on the first line because it's Connor Bedard, and you watch him in the preseason, you're like, oh yeah, okay. And this team is not good. But for him to take a spot over Suzuki, Caufield, or Slafkovsky game one, unless he's just insane, which is not, I guess, completely out of the realm of possibility. I don't see it. I see them mixing up some chance there. I don't think it's impossible, but I don't think it's likely. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to end the poll there. Let me change this. So 29% said yes, 70% said no. Nice math, YouTube. Think it around better. Okay. By the end of the 2025-26 season, will Demidov be on the first line? So by the end of the season, will he be on the first line? I don't just mean one game. I mean, I guess you can take that however you want, but I think that's a much more interesting question. I would still venture to say no, because I think there's going to be a big learning curve. We tend to forget, if he is on the first line by the end of his rookie season, if he's on the first line by the end of his, it'll be his age 20 season, I guess, or age 19, whatever, his draft plus 2 year, that is, that puts him in an elite category. Like, we're seeing it with Slav and his draft plus 2. He vaulted to the first line. That rarely happens. And to see if Demidov manages to do it with the talent on this roster, I feel like some people are maybe expecting the timeline to be too fast with him, but we're also seeing that talent, like, his prime is going to be in, like, 10 years. And we're talking about, at the end of next year, him being on the first line of a team with lots of great players. What do you think, Jesse? I'm actually going to say no. Maybe I feel like I'm going to be in the minority. I think he's just going to be solid, amazing second line guy pretty early, but that is also well above expectations for any draft pick and like when they're still a teenager.
I will say, yeah, but even if that doesn't happen, even if it's not on the first line by the end of next year, like you said, there's going to be plenty of time for him to grow into that role. I will say just because of, again, not just the offensive, which I think is probably at the highest level on the Habs' offensive capabilities, but then combined with his defensive awareness, like for me, that is just absolutely elite. And we have to remember, like from Roman Rottenberg, what we're hearing about from his team over in SKA is like they're preparing this guy to be one of the best players in the world, right? And so Kucherov, was he on that first line right away? No, it kind of takes time. So it's okay if he doesn't get there. But if you're having this type of player, I think that there's a very solid chance by the end of next year, just by merit, that he's there playing on that top line.
And he's going to want to prove that too. And what I love is that, we were talking about that competition for the defensive spots this year. Now Harris is gone. It's a little more clear-cut. There still is some competition. Guys fighting for their careers here. Fighting not to be traded, right? But now, you look at, like, even 2 years down the road. Like, let's say next year, you're going to have Suzuki, Slafkovsky, Caufield, Laine, Dach, and Demidov probably all trying to fight for that top line. But that right there is your very likely top 6 next year. Or maybe you have a guy like Waugh really break out and he earns that. And like, you never really know. But what I think is you now have crazy competition for your top of the lineup guys. You're gonna have competition for who's gonna be on your first power play. While for the last few years, it just hasn't been a question at all, right? It's been really crazy. And there is another point in the chat there. I'm gonna get back to chat in a minute, guys, as well. But what if he ends up playing center? If he's not bad on faceoffs, Jesse, I can see him centering a line with Dach on the wing. Dach creates his best when he's at center, but his faceoff acumen is not that good. Maybe he can improve, but he's really not very good on faceoffs. So there's a bunch of opportunities, and I think that guys are going to be fighting for their livelihood, but I think that when that creates that fire, that creates that competition within them, guys that already have that fire to be better, to just have other guys around them but their teammates also want you to succeed. I'm sure Slav is like, come on, Demidov, you can do this. Come on, Ivan, you can get to that first line. I just feel like this culture is going to play a bigger role than maybe we're even realizing.
For sure. If this guy can start be an elite centerman as a result, like this deal is obviously, this pick is just going to keep getting better and better for sure. It's absolutely just unreal that, we know we have like an elite winger, but if for whatever reason, and you almost feel if one player is able to handle it, it would be Demidov kind of transitioning from the wing to center a little bit more. Again, because of the defensive awareness, there won't be too much pressure, but that'll almost just be like the cherry on top. If he does that, I think Josh, like you said, like whether you call that a 2C kind of interchangeable kind of 1A, 1B kind of type lines, like that punch of Suzuki and Demidov like down the middle would absolutely be unreal. Demidov doesn't need to do that to become a phenomenal player. But I think if he does, like you said, for just kind of maybe improving on that face-off dot, as well as maybe giving him a chance to even improve on his offensive skills, like he said, that he feels center really can, I feel could be so massive for this team. Like,
I'm also thinking, like, just do what they did with Monahan and Dach. Like, just do that, right? Have guys take faceoffs on their strong side, and then you just have Laine on the other way. Isn't that crazy? Demidov, Dach, and Laine. Anyway, unbelievable stuff. You guys have been leaving some great feedback in the chat, so I got to get to you guys before we clue it up. We're going to clue it up around 7 Eastern, so we're going to go for another few minutes, guys. This has been a ton of fun. There's been so much stuff, and I want to get to some chats before we go. I got to scroll back because you guys have been chatting like crazy, and I want to thank you so much. Get to Rafi saying he needs to play top 6 right away. I wouldn't say he needs to, but I think he's going to deserve it. Like, if he's good enough to do it, they're going to do it. If he's not good enough, they're just going to play him with the people that they think is going to be best for him. So needs maybe strong, but I think he'll get there. No matter what line they put Demidov on, it'll become the first line after a few weeks of success. I love that take. He's going to make it the first line. It doesn't matter if it's Suzuki, Caufield, whatever line Demidov's on, he's going to force their hand. I love that. I think we're underestimating how good he will be next season, says Alex. I think, I don't even know what to expect yet. Like, I didn't expect this level of dominance. I know it's KHL preseason, but, if he continues the way he's playing now in the KHL regular season, I mean, like, I think we're in for an absolute treat. Again, I'm reading channel members in priority, as you guys know, because there's so many chats. Thank you all so much for leaving chats. I see so many kind comments as well, saying thank you. I see this one from Frank saying thanks. Love y'all. Love you too, Frank. Thanks so much for being here, saying good job. I just want to thank you guys again for all the kind comments. Like, every single day, it's crazy. The amount of support you guys give us, the amount of likes on the videos, the amount of positive comments, positive feedback is, like, it doesn't go unnoticed. So even if I'm not reading your comment out loud, I'm taking a look at the vast majority of them, and I can see I love the discussion, the discourse in here. It's been amazing. As we scroll down, Alex and Demidov, the first line center by the end of 25-26. 26-27 will be our first year's real playoff threats. What do you think about that? You think we can be like a real playoff threat in 26-27 if Demidov is that first line guy? I think so for sure, and what's crazy about that is that'll be the first year with Price off the books, and then it'll only be 1 year left until Gallagher and Anderson are gone. That is the start of that big window, I think.
Yeah, for sure. Demidov is a huge X factor in all that, but also just all the young guys like Slav, even Suzuki, Caufield, etc., getting more of that experience, that young decor. It's pretty good right now for being a bunch of young guys, but as they mature together, I think they're going to be solid, a really young group, not just on the offense, but on the defense as well. So yeah, absolutely. I think, next year we're going to start kind of kicking the tires on the playoffs a little bit, but with Demidov coming over here, I think it's definitely going to just change so many things about this team, and I don't see any reason why we're not competing for a playoff spot with Demidov here.
And what if Laine Hutson just transitions to forward and becomes our number one winger? No, that's not going to happen. Laine Hutson is also someone we didn't even get to mention in this, and he's also just stupid good. Like, I'm so excited for him too. And we got one more channel member comment here. Kent is making such a good team. Imagine having Prime Newhook as your 3C. That's how dynasties get made. This is what I was saying too. The Habs have so much draft capital. They're getting so much out of young guys. I think everything's going super great. As Alex says, not to mention we have 2 young guns. They made to a final already. I forget that sometimes that Suzuki and Caufield both made the final. Absolutely wild to think about. There's so much crazy stuff going on. If we get some more channel members coming in right at the end here, yes, playoff next year. This year would be unicorn. I don't think it'll happen this year. Next year, maybe. Frank saying, let's say we're close to a spot in March. We're going to make a move. Demidov's coming at the end of the year. We may cause a surprise. It's possible. Not holding out hope for a playoff spot this year, but I think we'll be better than we expect. Jesse, I think we call it there. That was a ton of fun. Any final parting comments before we end this another wonderful, wonderful Monday live stream?
Well, the excitement's building as we're getting closer to the season. We see what Demidov's doing. We see the acquisition of Laine, what that's going to bring to this team, without even mentioning Hudson. Brian Backer's going to be getting games in Montreal. Well, all these young players, you have to think all different things are going to have such a big impact on the team. There's a lot of things coming into this year that the Montreal Canadiens did not have going for them last year. So I think it's fully right to take that in effect and to expect an on-ice product that is going to be much, much better than last year. And you have to feel like just doing those little details right, that's what's going to kind of detail, into getting those points in the standings, everything else. But besides that, obviously we're excited. We just want to thank everybody so much for all their positivity, their love. It means so much to us, and we just thank you guys so much for spending some of your time with us today.
Yeah, unbelievable. The people tune in every single week. 400 people this week. We had over 1,000 when the Laine trade went down. It's crazy. You guys keep showing up for this every single week, and we friggin' love it. We friggin' love doing this for you guys. I'll read the final chats that we got there before we sign off. Alex, I think we want to fight for a wild card this season and next season. I think we want to fight for it. I'd be a little disappointed if the Habs are out of the running in January, February. It depends. It kind of depends. If they're way out of the race and there haven't been any injuries, yeah, maybe that'd be a disappointment. But if they're keeping in close games, that's the thing. It's not about what the standings say. I think still at this point, I think it's a lot about how the Habs are playing, like it was last year. Super Gujan saying, thanks, guys. The Habs will make the playoffs. How deep they go will depend on injuries. You never know. There's so many possibilities there. Frank saying, have a great night. And finally, Mr. Niles with another super chat. Mr. Niles, thank you so much today. Absolutely unbelievable. Ryan Bacher, future Norris. Gunshot. Hey, you know what? That's not out of the question either. Absolutely unbelievable. Thank you so much for your generosity today. Thank you, everyone, for your generosity, for just donating your time to us. We really, really appreciate it. It seriously means a lot to us. But that'll do it for this live episode of Habs Digest. If you enjoyed, leave a like, comment, subscribe to the channel. It's completely free. You get to see every single video we post. You get to comment here on these live streams. It's a great, great spot to be. I'm Josh Goss, my co-host, Jesse Poirier. We'll catch you in the next one.